Born on October 5, 1941, in the heart of New York City, Arlene Smith entered the world as a quiet storm, her voice destined to electrify the music industry and shake the foundations of pop and R&B. Her name would eventually become synonymous with the Chantels, but her story was far deeper than a single group or moment. She was not only a voice, she was a force, bold in youth, refined in adulthood, and unwavering in devotion to her art. Raised in the Bronx, Arlene was surrounded by rhythm from the very beginning. The borough throbbed with energy, where storefronts blared jazz, Latin music drifted from apartment windows, and families turned to radio for comfort. At home, Arlene's parents sang duets at Sunday dinners, and it wasn't long before their daughter joined in, her voice catching the attention of relatives, neighbors, and teachers. By second grade, she was already being trained in classical music. Her earliest formal singing experiences came through the Catholic liturgy. She attended St. Anthony of Padua School, where she became immersed in a world of Gregorian chant, Latin hymns, and rigid musical discipline. This education laid the groundwork for a vocal technique that would later defy genre labels. Arlene was not raised in the gospel tradition common among her peers. Instead, she cultivated a sound that blended the solemnity of sacred music with the yearning of blues and the purity of art song. By the time she reached her teens, Arlene had performed solo at Carnegie Hall. That performance, staggering for someone so young, confirmed what her community already suspected. This girl was special. Her voice carried both strength and fragility, her vibrato trembling at just the right moment, lifting melodies into unforgettable territory. At St. Anthony's, she met 4 other musically inclined girls, Sonia Goring, Jackie Landry, Renee Minus, and Lois Harris. They shared more than classrooms. They shared a singular passion for vocal harmony. Though their influences varied, from Sarah Vaughan to Frankie Lyman, they shared a hunger to be heard. Initially practicing in school hallways and locker rooms, they wove their voices into a seamless blend that turned everyday harmonizing into something majestic. In 1956, their school basketball team played a rival institution, St. Francis de Chantels. The encounter gave them the idea for a name, the Chantels. It had a sense of reverence, an echo of the church pews, where they had first sung together. The name stuck. So did their resolve. Unlike many male groups of the day, the Chantels couldn't spend hours rehearsing on street corners. The constraints of girlhood meant they practiced when and where they could, after basketball games, in school basements, or during breaks in class. But the limited time only sharpened their focus. And Arlene, who wrote their earliest songs, became both leader and visionary. Her songwriting was introspective and honest. He's Gone, the Chantels' first single, emerged from a moment of heartbreak while she sat at the piano. It was recorded in 1957 after the group met Richard Barrett, the lead singer of the Valentines, and a producer who played a vital role in introducing them to End Records. The story goes that Barrett heard them singing beneath a Broadway theater marquee and was so taken with their sound that he immediately took their number. Though weeks passed without contact, Jackie Landry tracked him down. Their persistence paid off. He's Gone reached number 71 on the charts, but it wasn't until their second single, Maybe, that history was made. Released in December 1957, it climbed to number 15 on the Billboard Pop chart and number 2 on the R&B chart. Written by Arlene, Maybe carried a haunting piano line, melancholic lyrics, and an astonishing vocal performance that conveyed teenage longing with uncanny maturity. It became the first record by a girl group to sell over 1 million copies, earning a gold disc and elevating the Chantels to national fame. At just 16, Arlene was the lead voice of a movement she helped create. Maybe wasn't just another ballad. It became an anthem. Its hypnotic power transcended genre and race. White teens wept over it. Black families played it during family gatherings. Critics called her the greatest female singer in early rock and roll. Rolling Stone would later refer to her as the Queen of Doo-Wop. Yet, while Arlene's voice soared, the business behind the scenes failed to support them. Their label, End Records, prioritized male acts like Little Anthony and the Imperials. The Chantels, despite their success, received minimal promotion. Their subsequent singles, Every Night, I Pray, and I Love You So, charted modestly but never matched the explosive magic of Maybe. Tensions grew. The group was young, still under parental supervision, and End Records lacked the infrastructure to manage their burgeoning fame. Arlene grew restless. Her ambitions stretched beyond formulaic singles and restrictive contracts. In 1959, she walked away from the Chantels. Her departure was seismic. For the group, it meant a new chapter with a different lineup. For Arlene, it marked the beginning of a challenging and unpredictable solo career. She signed with various labels, exploring styles and collaborators. Though none of her solo releases matched the commercial success of Maybe, she remained artistically restless. She toured, performed, and continued writing. But the pop market was fickle, and the terrain for black female soloists was treacherous. As the 60s progressed, Arlene witnessed other girl groups like the Chantels and the Supremes rise to fame. She never expressed bitterness, but those who knew her well understood the pain of being passed over by history, of creating the road that others were now driving on. Yet Arlene never disappeared. In the 1970s, she reassembled a new version of the Chantels for oldies shows. The group now included Barbara Murray and Pauline Moore. Their shows weren't stadium spectacles, but the emotion remained. Audiences wept when they heard Maybe. They remembered. So did Arlene. In private, she became an educator. Returning to her Bronx roots, she taught elementary school children. Her classroom was not just about lessons, but also about music, self-respect, and storytelling. She viewed her students with the same care she once gave her lyrics, seeking truth in young voices. Arlene's humility was striking. She rarely chased headlines or demanded credit. Instead, she moved quietly through life, balancing the roles of artist, teacher, and mother figure to generations of aspiring singers. By the 1990s, nostalgia rekindled interest in doo-wop and early rock. Arlene joined reunion shows and appeared in specials like PBS's Doo-Wop 50 in 1999. The surviving original members reunited for the performance and dedicated it to Jackie Landry, who had died from breast cancer in 1997. That moment on stage, middle-aged women embracing in harmony, felt like a requiem for an era that had almost been forgotten. The Chantels were inducted into the Vocal Group Hall of Fame in 2002. Though they had been overlooked by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for years, they were finally nominated in 2010. For Arlene, the recognition mattered less than the preservation of the music itself. She wanted the story told, not just hers, but the story of every black girl who had once stood under a street lamp and believed her voice mattered. Into the 2000s and 2010s, Arlene remained active. She continued performing in select shows, participated in educational panels, and mentored young singers. She understood the shifting currents of the industry, but remained grounded in what had always mattered to her: honesty in sound, emotion in delivery, truth in lyrics. She refused to indulge nostalgia without meaning. Her performances weren't tributes, they were declarations. She was still here, still singing. Those who saw her live during these later years often described something rare, a connection between artist and audience that wasn't reliant on production, costume, or trend. It was her voice, aged, weathered, but still breathtaking, that held people in rapture. Arlene Smith is still alive as of the latest reports, though she keeps a low profile. She lives in New York, where she remains active in community and cultural work. Her contributions to music have been quietly monumental, not just for the gold records or chart success, but for the trail she blazed without fanfare. Her legacy is not confined to recordings. It lives in the quiet confidence of female vocalists, in the harmonies of girl groups across decades, and in every young artist who dares to write her own songs. When she eventually leaves this world, it will not be as a forgotten figure or trivia answer. Arlene Smith is, and always has been, one of the most consequential voices of 20th century music, not because she shouted, but because she sang.